ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear friends. So we had read till 15th verse in our last session. Yam hi na vyathyante te purusham purushashabha sama dukha sukha dhiram sama dukha sukham dhiram so amritatvaya kalpate. So Lord Krishna is instructing Arjunji, person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. And we read the wonderful purport of Swami Srila Prabhupada, and we understood many Krishna conscious concepts. So in the next verse, 16th verse, another very famous and important verse from Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna continues. So Lord says, Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi drishto antastva अनयोस्तत्वदर्शिभिः। न सतो विद्यते भावो न भावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टो अन्तस्त्व अनयोस्तत्वदर्शिभिः। न सतो विद्यते भाव, न सतो विद्यते भावो न अभाव विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टो अन्तस्त्व अनयोस्तत्वदर्शिभिः। So wonderful verse, na never, asataha, of the non-existent vidyate there is bhavaha, endurance. Na never, abhavaha, changing quality, vidyate there is sataha, of the eternal, ubhayo, of the two, api, verily, drishtaha, observed, antaha, conclusion, to but anayoho, of them, tatvaha, truth, darshibhi, by the seers. Translation: those who are seers of the truth, those who are seers of the truth, tattvadarshibhi, have concluded that of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. These seers have concluded by studying the nature of both. The seers, tattvadarshibhi, ubhayo, of the two, ubhayo api drishto, by studying the nature, antas, drishtant, drishta. After observing, after studying, they have concluded drishtanta, drishtanta, drishtantaha. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. The seers have concluded by studying the nature of both. So wonderful verse in the purport. Swami Srila Prabhupada writes, there is no endurance of the changing body, that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus the growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalist and personalist. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jyotimshi Vishnur Bhavanani Vishnu. Jyotimshi Vishnur Bhavanani Vishnu. The words existent and non-existent refer only to the spirit and matter. Prabhupada is concluding. The words existent and non-existent, the words existent and non-existent refer only to the spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of the truth. So this is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and the parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the Supreme being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutra as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme, and the energy or nature is accepted as subordinate. The living entities therefore are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance, and to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time. So wonderful verse. Na asato, asat, of the non-existent. Na asato vidyate bhavo. Na asato vidyate bhavaha. Lord Krishna's one name is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He accepts the bhava of every living entity, bhavaha. So what is permanent? Bhavaha. So wonderful verse. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na abhavo vidyate sataha. Those who are seers of the truth, ubhayorapi drishto antasto anayos tattvadarshibhi. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, asataha, asat. So for the sat, there is no cessation. For the truth, there is no cessation. The truth will endure. All of us know satyameva hi jayate. So Lord Shri Krishna is also saying the truth, satya, sat, will endure, and non-existent will cease. Na asato vidyate bhavaha. For asat, there is no endurance, and for the sat, there is no cessation. Sat will always endure, and asat will cease with time. Sat will endure, satyameva jayate. Satya will endure, truth will always endure, and untruth or false will cease with time, will not endure. So wonderful definition Lord Sri Krishna is giving for Sat and Asat, existent and non-existent, and Swami Srila Prabhupada begins the purport. There is no endurance of the changing body. The body is ever changing. We never had in this material world. All of us have spirit. We are forgetful of our real spiritual body, our constitutional identity. So in this world we see the body is continuously changing. Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, different cells, by actions and reactions of the different cells, body is changing every moment by actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science. Even the medical science, and even we are seeing and we see every day. Everyone's body is continuously changing. And in the previous verses, Deino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tatha dehantar prapti. So we had a body before this life also, and in the future also we will have a body. But what we had in our previous life and what we are having right now and what we will have in our future life, they are completely different. So we never had, truly speaking, every moment the body is changing, and in that way we never had same body, but we still consider this, I am this body. The ignorance is so deep rooted that we consider that I am this body, though this body is continuously changing. So there is no endurance of the changing body, that the body is changing every moment by actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by the modern science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, as in the previous verses also Lord Sri Krishna explained, Natva eva ham jatu nasham, Natva eva ham jatu nasam, Natva neme janadipaha, Nacheva na bhavishyamaha. So the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite of all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and the spirit. So Swami Srila Prabhupada so wonderfully he is explaining that is the difference, and even Lord Sri Krishna. And here in one way Swami Srila Prabhupada is confirming. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalist and personalist. So either personalists or impersonalists, even impersonalists, they say Brahma Satya, Brahman, or the spirits or the supreme spirit. So spirit is permanent, existent, and the body, the matter, is ever changing. So the matter or the body, and Swami Srila Prabhupada, that's why he concludes, the word existent and non-existent refer only to the spirit and matter. The word existent and non-existent refers to spirit and matter. The spirit is Sat and is ever existing, permanent, while the matter is Asat, will cease, is ever changing. So we are seeing that the body is continuously changing, and hence it is Asat, but the spirit is permanent and is Sat. And this is being concluded by all the seers of the truth. After studying Ubhayorapi Drishto Antas, Drishto, after studying the nature of both, matter and the spirit, both personalist and impersonalist, all the transcendentalists of all class, either personalist or impersonalist, they have concluded that the body or the matter is asat, Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya, even they say. And Jagat, which is a material world, the personalist, they say this is a temporary material world. Personalists say because everything has come from the Supreme Lord, so everything is Sat. But it is temporary. Swami Srila Prabhupada always explains in his teachings, in his lectures and in his teachings, he always explained that Vaishnava philosophy says that this world is temporary. We do not directly, the Vaishnavas, they don't say this is asat, because Vasudevam Sarvamiti, everything has come from the Supreme Lord. So it is temporary. So the body here, that's why Swami Srila Prabhupada is concluding the word existent and non-existent refer only to the spirit and matter. So Swami Srila Prabhupada says in the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. So material world is the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord, is a part of inferior energy. Swami Srila Prabhupada also writes in the purport, the living entity, it does not belong to the inferior nature. The living entity does not belong to this material nature. Material nature, which is matter, which is inferior to the spiritual nature. So living entity, truly speaking, it will be revealed in the forthcoming chapter. Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing the living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. So in the coming forthcoming verses, we will see that Lord Shri Krishna will explain that the living entities, they belong to the superior nature, not to the inferior nature. Living entity, actually, truly speaking, every living entity is a spiritual being and it belongs to the spiritual world. Every living entity is a spiritual being and it does not belong to the material world. That will be revealed by Lord Shri Krishna in his instructions in the forthcoming chapters. And Swami Srila Prabhupada writes that the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that Jyotimsi Vishnur Bhavanani Vishnu. The Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Vishnu and his abode. Vishnu and his abodes, Vaikuntha, they have self-illuminated. Even Lord Shri Krishna will confirm in the forthcoming verses, Natad bhashyate suryaho shashankno napavakaha. They are self-illuminated. In this material world, we require sun, moon, and fire for illumination. The material world is in darkness. The material world where we exist, where we are existing at the present moment, is in darkness, complete darkness. But by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, there is sun, there is moon, and there is fire to illuminate, to give light by which we are able to see things our senses are able to see. So actually this material world is in darkness. But Vishnu and his abodes, Vaikuntha Loka, and Lord Shri Krishna says, Tadhamam Paramam Mama Golokadham, they all are self-illuminated. Self-illuminated, and they have spiritual existence. They don't have material existence. And the spirit soul actually belongs to the spiritual nature and spiritual world. But because of ignorance, it is experiencing the inferior nature, material nature, and because of which it always comes under illusion, ignorance, and is bewildered. The spirit soul is bewildered because of the influence of the ignorance. So Swami Srila Prabhupada, he writes in the second paragraph, this is the beginning of the instruction of the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. So Arjunji, who is representing all the living entities of this world who are in ignorance, all of us who are in complete ignorance, and that's why we are completely bewildered, because we do not know our real identity. Our real identity, our real nature, and that's why we are always perplexed, and we are in anxiety, and we are confused about our duty, what to do and what not to do. So this is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of the ignorance. And Swami Srila Prabhupada writes, removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of difference between the part and the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how this ignorance can be removed? Every living entity belongs to the spiritual nature and is related with the Supreme Lord. Every living entity, Mama Evamsha, every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and is related with the Supreme Lord. So the ignorance can be removed by re-establishing. Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing that ignorance can be removed by re-establishment. By re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable. Re-establishment of eternal relationship, that relationship is eternal. Every living entity's relationship with the Supreme Lord is eternal, of which he is forgetful at the present moment. And the ignorance can be removed by a re-establishment of that relationship between. Swami Srila Prabhupada has chosen very wonderful word, worshipper and worshipable. The living entity being subordinate, being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is always the worshipper, admirer of the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord being being the whole. That's why Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, by the ignorance is removed by re-establishing the relationship between the part and parcel and the whole, and consequently understanding the difference. Consequently understanding the difference between the oneself and the Supreme Being. Difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, one can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself. Because each one of us, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. We are spirit soul. We belong to the spiritual nature. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the super soul, Supreme Being, super soul, Supreme Spirit, So by thorough study of oneself, Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, by thorough study of oneself, one can understand the nature of the Supreme. Achintya bheda abheda, simultaneously one and different. So, one in quality, so one can understand the nature or the quality of the Supreme Being. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by studying oneself by thorough study of oneself. And the difference between oneself and the Supreme Being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. There is difference also. There is oneness, there is achintya bhed abhed. Simultaneously dvaita and advaita. Simultaneously one and different. So one in quality but difference in quality. One in quality but difference in quantity. Difference between oneself and the Supreme Being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. Part and the whole. So, quality wise, the Supreme Lord also, one can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself. But still there is difference. And that difference is relationship between part and the whole. Understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. Anu Vibhu. One is part and other is whole. The Supreme Being is whole from which everything has emanated. Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing in the Vedanta Sutra as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Janmadyasya yataha. So that is the difference. From the Supreme Lord, everything has come into being. He is the source with Janmadi. Asya yataha. He is the source of everything. Anvayadita rasascha artheshu abhignya sarat. So he is the source of all emanations. Even in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Lord Shri Krishna will confirm, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. So simultaneously one and different. One in quality but different in quantity. Part and whole. And that's why the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Spirit or the Super Soul is always superior, is always the master, and the living entity is always the servant or the subordinate. So, the Supreme has accepted as the origin of all emanations. The emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. These emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. So both, he is the cause, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Nadiradir Govinda Sarvakaran Karanam. He is the cause of both material and the spiritual world. Everything what exists has emanated from him. Even every living entity, all of us, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Being. So that difference is always there. There is Dvaita philosophy, Advaita philosophy, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained the real philosophy, Achintya Bheda Bheda, simultaneously one and different. The living entities are one with the Supreme Lord in quality, but they are different in quantity. part and whole. And the living entity belong to the superior nature, spiritual nature, as will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic. Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme. One may question, so okay, even if one is part and other is whole, why part has to serve the whole? Why whole is superior? Somebody can put an argument like that also. Of course, that argument is baseless, but still. So, although Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, there is no difference between the energy and the energetic. The energetic is always accepted as the supreme, and the energy or the nature is accepted as subordinate. So, as such, there is no difference between energy and the energetic. Shakti and Shaktiman, but still the Shaktiman or Shaktivan, the possessor of all energies, is superior because he possesses. They are acting as per his directions. And living on entity is also fully under the control of the nature, which is acting as per the directions of the Supreme Lord. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate se charam. That's why we come under ignorance. But the Supreme Lord, he never comes under ignorance. He is never bewildered. And Arjunji here, he is representing all the living entities, Vibhinansha of this material world, who are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And they can come under the influence of external energy, external nature, and can get bewildered. They can get bewildered, they can be confused of their duty, and they can totally forget their identity, their real identity, or their spiritual nature, their constitutional position, and their constitutional eternal work. So that is the difference. But the Supreme Lord, he never comes under the influence of the material nature. Achyuta. That's why Lord Arjunji addressed Lord Sri Krishna as Achyuta, because he never comes under the influence of the external nature, and he never comes in ignorance. He is always situated